She punches above her weight, never gains any.
Carole is smart, she's focused, and she's committed.
She's a real team player. We had a vacancy on the board of TD Bank Financial Group, and quite frankly, we were looking for the most qualified person in the country. And we found that person in Carole Taylor. She's superbly qualified. The great thing about being premier of a province is that you don't have to be the Minister of Finance, because that is a very tough job. The Minister of Finance is the person that has to say no most of the time to colleagues, to various interest groups, to the general public. And to be able to carry that off so adroitly that you can balance your budget, obtain peace with your public sector unions, and introduce complex and controversial environmental legislation and leading edge environmental legislation and leave admired and respected. That is an incredible feat.
As a deputy minister, having Carole Taylor as a minister was fantastic. You know, somebody who cares so deeply about public service and public policy and understands the difference that politicians truly make in terms of their decisions, and also values the advice of high quality public service was an excellent combination. The most complex issue, some of our technical briefings right away in terms of the economy, in terms of tax policy, she would listen and then she would get to the essence very, very quickly. I think it comes in part from her communications and media training. Her ability to communicate complex issues to a wide audience was something I'd never seen done at that level.
To me, a great interview is spontaneous, provocative, down to earth. The great thing about Carole Taylor, when you interview her, she makes you look smarter than you are. You ask her a tough question, she gives you a fabulous answer. Carole comes on live TV and is herself. She also knows what she's talking about. That helps. And she doesn't use spin doctors at all. So she's not spouting a line, she listens. Because she was an interviewer for so many years, she gets it. She listens to the question, and then she answers the question. She never reads from the manual.
When we were in the midst of the economic crisis in December 2008, and we're starting to prepare the budget, which we're going to deliver January 27th, I wanted to put together a very strong group of Canadian leaders to give the government advice and give me advice as Minister of Finance. And the first person that came to mind was Carole Taylor, and she was the first person I called, and I asked her to chair it because I know she's pragmatic and I know she could probably herd together those opinions that I was going to bring together, some pretty strong-minded Canadian leaders. She's a very effective chair because she has the quiet leadership that you need around a table where you have a lot of people with strong views and people who are in the midst of a very uncertain time in their own businesses. And she was very good at getting people to speak their minds, to listen to others.
I think certainly her finest hour for me was seeing how she handled the collective bargaining process. With her work on public sector bargaining, where for the first time in the history of this province, we had collective agreements settled before they expired. We had labor peace through the Olympics, and as we've just seen with the Olympics that have just passed, tremendous success for this city, this province, and this country. And she was able to do that by bringing people together. Just because we had had a difficult relationship historically with a particular union didn't mean that she wasn't interested in hearing what they had to say. And people knew when they came to the table they would be heard. They wouldn't always get exactly what they wanted, but they would be heard and the issue would be understood and there'd be a fair assessment made of it. And so I think that was a real strength that she had in bringing people together.
Carole Taylor is a futurist. She's a change maker. She understands where you have to go to solve problems and is fearless in going there and not political. I don't think she ever thinks, oh, if I do that, I'll lose a vote. I think she does things because it's the right thing to do. And she's solid enough, she's not afraid to do it.
If they reduce their driving by just 10 kilometers a week, they will save enough in fuel costs alone to completely offset the impact of the carbon tax in 2008.
The introduction of a carbon tax was an unbelievably courageous thing to do in a time when taxation has been so demonized. It started off at $10 a ton, it's now up to 15. And it will rise by $5 a ton, I don't know, to 30 within a few years.
And so, we promised you green, and today we deliver green.
If in fact in 20 years the carbon tax is up where it should be, Carole can take a lot of credit for that in North America. I have to say that when a 1 or 2 like me meets a 10 like Carole, it's a totally intimidating, overwhelming thing. Oh my God, is she smart? You know, watching her career, it's the kind of trajectory and career that I think every one of us would die for. It's just a spectacular record. As a father of 4 girls, I look to people like Carole as a role model, although I must say she sets a pretty high bar. What a spectacular life.
I hope that BC hasn't seen the last of Carole Taylor. I hope the country hasn't seen the last of Carole Taylor.
She's the greatest premier BC hasn't elected yet.
There's never been a woman who's been the Minister of Finance of Canada, but the first one would be quite suitable if it were Carole Taylor. Of course, there's no vacancy right now, and I'd want to give her some advice about her philosophical guidance about the party she might want to represent.
I believe Carole would be Prime Minister in a flash if she decided that's what she wanted to do.